Good morning, boys and girls. It's Miss Striplin again. I'm going to go over some questions with you today about that go along with your story, The Red and Yellow Coat. So if you would like to go ahead and get that story handy so that you can have it with you as we go over the questions. Remember, boys and girls, that it's a folk tale. And who can remember what a folk tale is? That's right. It's a story that has been handed down over and over and over, told how? That's right, orally or by word of mouth, until it finally gets written down. So, again, this story is a folk tale. We have our three main characters. Characters we know are the people that are in the story, or it could be animals if we were reading about animals. But we are not. We are reading about people. And our people or characters are Tricky Guy, Navy, and Tim. Okay. And so we didn't talk about this the other day, but we can tell by the first few paragraphs of the story, paragraph 1, 2, and 3. And we know those are paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. If you will look to the left of each paragraph, there's a number. And then there's also a picture that the illustrator drew. The illustrator is the one we know who draws pictures. And so we can tell by the picture and the words in the story that this setting, or where the story takes place, is outside in a neighborhood or um, a village neighborhood. So those are just a few things I wanted to review with you before we get started. As you can see, we are going to be answering questions again today. And if you will look at page 155, if you do not have that yet, go ahead and go get it. You're going to need page 155. And on that page, we are going to answer two how questions. We know that that is part of our questioning stems is a how question. So we're going to answer two how questions today, but we are also going to use evidence or the sentence that best tells the answer. Okay. So let's look at number 9 together. It has two parts. You're going to answer part A, which is a multiple choice question. And then you're going to answer part B, where you're going to have to do a little bit of writing. But that's no big deal because you're going to find your answer in the story. So, part A, the question is, how does Tricky Guy make sure Navy and Tim see him walk down the street? So, A, he plays a trick on them. B, he wears a beautiful coat. C, he makes a lot of noise. Or D, he calls out to them. So I'm going to go back and look in the story, and I'm just going to start with paragraph 1. I'm just going to start reading right there because I remember that this part that they're talking about, this question, happens near the beginning of the story. So I'm going to read paragraph 1, and you can read it with me. Once there were two boys who were great friends. Navy and Tim lived right across the road from each other. One day, Tricky Guy decided to play a trick on them. He put on a coat that was divided down the middle, which means it had two parts. One part or side of the coat was red, and the other side was yellow. Okay, we still don't know our answer yet. Paragraph 3. Tricky Guy wore this coat and walked down the road between the houses of the two friends. He made lots of noise so that each of them looked up to see him. Okay, so remember the question is, how does Tricky Guy make sure Naby and Tim see him walk down the street? So we just read the answer in paragraph 3. So go back and look at your answer choices and circle the correct one, the correct choice. Part B says, write the sentence from the story that best supports the answer to part A. In other words, boys and girls, they just want you to write the sentence that tells the answer. That's all they want you to do. Just put down the sentence that tells the answer. Okay, so that wasn't so bad, was it? That wasn't so hard. Okay, so question 10. How do the friends feel when they see Tricky Guy's whole coat? So remember, later on in the story, when Tricky Guy comes back to them and he shows them his coat, how do they feel when that happens? Is it A, they feel bad about their mistake? They get angry at Tricky Guy? C, they blame each other for what happened? D, they are glad to have learned a lesson from Tricky Guy. Go back and look in the story in case I can't remember how the friends feel when they see Tricky Guy's whole coat. So they are arguing in the story in paragraphs 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. It's the whole argument is where they are those little paragraphs. But that is not the question that they're asking. They're wanting to know how the friends feel when they see Tricky Guy's whole coat. So in paragraph 9 is when he comes back. So let's look at paragraph 9. Okay, Tricky Guy returned laughing at the boys. He stood facing them and showed them his coat. They saw that his coat was red on one side and red on the other. And so that is when, excuse me, I'm sorry, boys and girls, I lost my train of thought. So now the two friends shouted at Tricky Guy, "It's all your fault that we are fighting." And that's paragraph 10. So we've read paragraphs 9 and paragraph 10, and it says again, let's answer the question. How do the friends feel when they see Tricky Guy's whole coat? A, they feel bad about their mistake. B, they get angry at Tricky Guy. C, they blame each other for what happened. D, they are glad to have learned a lesson from Tricky Guy. So think about what they are doing in paragraph 10 and look at the end of that sentence where the friends are shouting. There's an exclamation mark there, and they're telling him it's his fault. So think about when you get in an argument with your brother or sister or a friend, and when you're telling someone it's their fault, what are you doing? Okay. So then let's look at question 11. The friends learn that there can be more than one way to see something. Tell one detail from the story that shows this lesson. Okay, so yes, they did learn a lesson. We haven't really talked about that, but yes, they learned a lesson. So if I were you, I would go back and reread paragraphs 9, 10, and 11, especially paragraph 11, because the lesson is the friends learn that there can be more than one way to see something. So, what is one sentence in the story that tells us that there is more than one way to see something? Okay, so I'm going to kind of let you do that on your own. We have learned or discussed what the lesson is in the story, that there's always more than one point of view, and there's always one more way to see, or one more way to see something. So again, go back in your text and find a detail or find a sentence that tells this. Again, I would look at the end of the story, starting in probably paragraph 9, just to give you a little bit of help with that. I hope that you have a great day. If you have any questions, remember, always contact your teacher.